The space station floated quietly above Earth like a silver dot against the black sky. Inside the station, two alien beings watched the blue planet spin slowly below them. They had been watching for 3 years now, taking notes and making reports about the strange creatures called humans. Ambassador Veltar looked like a tall crystal that could think and move. His body was clear and sparkled with small lights that showed his thoughts. Next to him sat High Analyst Kixnara, whose purple skin changed colors when she felt different emotions. Right now, her skin showed the dull gray color of boredom. "Another day of watching these primitives," Kixnara said, her voice sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "They still fight with metal objects and explosive chemicals. How boring." Veltar's crystal body glowed softly. "The Council says we must watch them. They recently learned to split atoms for power. That means they might be ready to join the galaxy soon." "Ready?" Kixnara laughed, and her skin flashed bright orange. "Look at them, Veltar. They still use wheels to move around. Their planet. They shoot metal bullets at each other. They have not even learned to bend space or control time. It will be thousands of years before they are ready." Far below on Earth, in a city called Seoul, Dr. Hyunwoo Kim did not know that aliens were watching him. He stood in his laboratory looking at the biggest project of his life. The room was filled with computers, screens, and machines that hummed and beeped. But the most important thing was the long metal tube that stretched through the wall and continued for many kilometers through the mountain. Hyunwoo wiped sweat from his forehead. He had been working on this project for 5 years. The government had given him unlimited money and the best team in the country. They wanted a weapon that could protect Earth from meteors and enemy missiles. They called it Project Thunderbolt. "Dr. Kim, the power readings look good," said Dr. Yoonji Park, looking up from her computer screen. She was small and quiet, but she knew more about electricity than anyone else in Korea. Her fingers moved quickly over the keyboard as numbers and graphs filled her screen. "Thank you, Yoonji," Hyunwoo said. He walked over to another computer where Minho Choi was working. Minho was the best engineer Hyunwoo had ever met. He could build anything and make it work perfectly. "How are the magnetic coils, Minho?" Hyunwoo asked. Minho smiled and pointed at his screen. "Perfect, sir. All 1,000 coils are working together. When we turn on the power, they will create the strongest magnetic field ever made by humans. The metal projectile will fly faster than anything we have ever built." Hyunwoo nodded and looked around the laboratory. Dozens of scientists and engineers worked at their stations. Some checked the computers that controlled the magnetic field. Others tested the metal projectile that would be fired from the railgun. Everyone wore white coats and safety glasses. The railgun was simple in concept but incredibly complex to build. It used powerful magnets to push a metal rod down a long tube. The magnets would switch on and off in perfect timing, pushing the rod faster and faster until it shot out of the tube at incredible speed. No explosions, no chemicals, just pure magnetic force. "Sir," called out Dr. So Young Kim from across the room. She was not related to Hyunwoo, but she was just as smart. She specialized in mathematics and calculations. "I have finished checking all the numbers. When we fire the railgun, the projectile should reach exactly Mach 25. That is 25 times faster than sound." "Excellent," Hyunwoo said. "And the target?" "The old weather satellite is in perfect position," Minho answered. "It is 400 kilometers above Earth. Our computers can hit it exactly." Up in the space station, Veltar's body suddenly glowed brighter. He had detected the energy readings from Earth. "Kixnara, look at this. The humans are building something that uses a lot of electricity." Kixnara's skin turned yellow with mild interest. She looked at her instruments. It seems to be some kind of magnetic weapon. How primitive. Most species give up kinetic weapons after they discover plasma energy." "Should we report this to the Council?" Veltar asked. "Why bother?" Kixnara said, her skin returning to gray. "It is just another metal-throwing device. These humans will probably hurt themselves with it. Remember the Zephyrians? They built similar weapons and nearly destroyed their own planet." "True," Veltar agreed. "But the energy readings are quite high for such a primitive species." "High for them, perhaps," Kixnara said, "but still nothing compared to what real civilizations can do. The Meridian Collective learned to split space itself 20,000 years ago. The Stellar Dominion can make suns explode with a thought. These humans are still playing with magnetism like children with toys. Back on Earth, Hyun-woo gathered his team for a final meeting. They sat around a large table in a room next to the laboratory. Charts and diagrams covered the walls, showing every part of the railgun in detail. "Tomorrow we make history," Hyun-woo said. "We will fire the first military railgun ever built by humans. This weapon could change everything. It could protect our planet from threats in space. It could make wars obsolete because no army could stand against it." Yoonji raised her hand. "Dr. Kim, are you sure the mountain can handle the stress? When we fire the railgun, it will push back against the Earth with enormous force." "The mountain is solid granite," Minho answered. "We have anchored the railgun deep into the rock. It will hold." "What about the projectile itself?" asked Dr. So-young. "It is just a tungsten rod. Will it really be effective as a weapon?" Hyun-woo smiled. "At Mach 25, even a small piece of metal becomes incredibly destructive. The kinetic energy alone will be greater than most explosive warheads. And unlike missiles, this projectile cannot be shot down or jammed. It is too fast and too small." The team talked for 2 more hours, checking every detail one more time. They discussed the power systems, the targeting computers, the safety procedures, and the emergency shutdown systems. Everything had to be perfect. That night, Hyun-woo could not sleep. He stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, he knew, other intelligent beings probably existed. Maybe they had weapons far more powerful than his railgun. Maybe they would laugh at humanity's simple magnetic weapon. But Hyun-woo felt proud anyway. The railgun represented the best of human engineering and cooperation. Scientists, engineers, and workers from all over Korea had worked together to build something amazing. It proved that humans could solve any problem if they worked hard enough and used their minds. In the space station above, Veltar and Kixnara prepared their daily report for the Galactic Council. They wrote about human agriculture, human transportation, and human communication systems. At the end, they added a small note about the magnetic weapon the humans were building. "Kinetic projectile system nearing completion," they wrote. "Primitive, but shows typical aggressive development pattern. No threat to galactic security. Recommend continued observation." Neither alien suspected that tomorrow, everything they thought they knew about physics, about weapons, and about the strange species called humanity would change forever. They had watched thousands of species develop similar weapons. They had seen it all before, but they had never seen anything like what the humans were about to unleash upon the universe. The morning sun rose over Mount Jiri, painting the sky in soft orange and pink colors. Deep inside the mountain, the largest electromagnetic railgun ever built by humans waited silently. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim stood in the main control room watching. Dozens of screens that showed every part of the massive weapon system. "Final systems check," Hyun-woo announced to his team. His voice echoed through the underground facility that had taken 5 years to build. The mountain had been hollowed out carefully, creating a tunnel that stretched for over a kilometer. Inside this tunnel, thousands of magnetic coils waited to push a simple tungsten rod faster than anything humans had ever created. Dr. Yoonji Park sat at her station, surrounded by screens showing electrical measurements. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she checked each of the power systems. "Power grid stable," she reported. "All backup generators ready. We have enough electricity to power the entire city of Seoul for 3 days. Minho Choi worked at the engineering station, monitoring the mechanical systems. "Magnetic coils operational," he said. "Cooling systems active. The barrel is perfectly aligned. Temperature readings normal." Dr. So-young. Kim watched the targeting computers. "Satellite located and locked," she announced. "The old weather satellite is exactly 400 kilometers above us, moving at 17,000 kilometers per hour. Our computers have calculated the perfect timing." Hyun-woo nodded and walked to the large window that looked down into the railgun chamber. The tungsten projectile sat in the launching position, a simple metal rod 30 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide. It looked so ordinary, but Hyun-woo knew that in a few minutes, this piece of metal would become the fastest human-made object ever created. "All stations report ready," called out Lieutenant Jae-min Lee, the military observer. assigned to watch the test. He wore a crisp uniform and carried himself with the discipline of a career soldier. Sole Command is standing by. International observers are monitoring from safe distance. High above Earth, in the alien observation station, Ambassador Veltar and High Analyst Kixanara watched their instruments with mild interest. They had seen hundreds of species test kinetic weapons. The readings from Earth showed typical energy patterns for a primitive electromagnetic accelerator. The humans are about to fire their metal-throwing device, Kixanara said, her purple skin showing the pale blue color of boredom. Should we record this for the archives? Standard procedure, Veltar replied, his crystal body flickering with dim light. Though I doubt it will be interesting. Kinetic weapons are so predictable. Back in the control room, Hyunwoo looked at his team one final time. These people had become like family to him over the past 5 years. They had worked through countless problems, solved impossible challenges, and never given up on their dream of building something that could protect humanity. This is for all the scientists who came before us, Hyunwoo said. For all the people who dared to dream of reaching the stars. Today, we show the universe that humans can build something extraordinary. Yoonji smiled from her station. Power charging to maximum levels. All safety systems active. Minho checked his readings one more time. Magnetic field generators ready, projectile loaded and secured. So Young watched the orbital calculations update in real time. Target still locked. Timing sequence loaded into the firing computer. Begin final countdown, Hyunwoo ordered. A computer voice filled the control room. T-minus 60 seconds to firing. All personnel to safe positions. Final systems check in progress. Around the world, scientists and military officials watched live feeds from the test site. In Washington, Pentagon officials monitored the experiment. In Moscow, Russian scientists recorded every detail. In Beijing, Chinese researchers compared their own weapon programs to what the Koreans had achieved. T-minus 30 seconds, the computer announced. Power levels at maximum. Magnetic field stable. Hyunwoo felt his heart beating faster. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. 5 years of calculations, testing, and building. Hundreds of millions of dollars. The hopes of an entire nation. T-minus 10 seconds, the computer said. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire, Hyunwoo said quietly. Yoonji pressed the firing button. The railgun discharged, with a sound like thunder trapped underground. Every light in the facility flickered as enormous amounts of electricity flowed through the magnetic coils. The tungsten projectile shot down the kilometer-long barrel, accelerated by magnetic forces beyond anything previously imagined. But something was wrong. The readings on So Young's screen showed impossible numbers. Dr. Kim, she said, her voice shaking. The projectile velocity is... This cannot be right. What is it? Hyunwoo asked, rushing to her station. According to the instruments, the projectile reached Mach 25 after only the first 100 meters of barrel. But it kept accelerating. By the time it left the muzzle, it was moving at... She paused, checking the numbers again. This is impossible. Minho looked at his engineering displays and turned pale. The magnetic field readings are off the charts. Something is amplifying the force. The projectile is generating its own electromagnetic field. Up in the space station, alarms suddenly began screaming. Veltar's crystal body flashed bright red with alarm. What is happening? He asked. Kixanara stared at her instruments in shock. Her skin had turned pure white, a color that meant absolute terror in her species. The projectile. It is moving faster than light. This is impossible. Nothing with mass can exceed light speed. Check the sensors, Veltar said urgently. There must be an error. No error, Kixanara whispered. The human projectile is traveling at 847% of light speed, and it is still accelerating. Back on Earth, the control room had erupted in confusion. Scientists ran between stations, checking and rechecking their instruments. The readings made no sense according to everything they knew about physics. Where is the projectile now? Hyunwoo asked. So Young looked at her tracking displays. I do not know. It disappeared from our sensors after it left the barrel. But according to the last reading, it was moving faster than light itself. That is impossible, Yunji said. Einstein proved that nothing can move faster than light. Our projectile has mass. It should be limited by the speed of light. Minho studied the magnetic field recordings. Look at this, he said, pointing to his screen. As the projectile moved through the barrel, it interacted with Earth's magnetic field. The tungsten rod has a specific crystal structure. When our electromagnetic pulse hit it at exactly the right frequency, something happened. What kind of something? Hyunwoo asked. I think we created a resonance cascade, Minho said slowly. The projectile's magnetic field synchronized with Earth's magnetic field and then with the local space-time field. It is not just moving through space anymore. It is surfing on the fabric of reality itself. In space, more alien ships were arriving to investigate the impossible readings. The Meridian Collective sent their fastest scout ships. The Stellar Dominion deployed sensor arrays that could detect quantum fluctuations across entire star systems. Ancient species that had been silent for millennia suddenly began transmitting urgent messages. Ambassador Veltar received an emergency communication from the Galactic Council. Ambassador, report immediately. Our sensors across 12 sectors are detecting impossible readings from your observation zone. Honored Council, Veltar replied, his crystal form flickering with confusion. The humans have somehow created a projectile that exceeds light speed. We do not understand how this is possible. A species that has not even achieved faster-than-light travel has created a faster-than-light projectile? The Council's voice carried disbelief. Are you certain? Your instruments are functioning correctly? Kixnara joined the communication. We have verified all readings multiple times. The human projectile has somehow transcended the normal laws of physics. It appears to be existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously while maintaining a stable trajectory. On Earth, Hyunwoo and his team stared at their screens in amazement and terror. They had set out to build a simple kinetic weapon to protect their planet. Instead, they had accidentally created something that broke the fundamental laws of the universe. Dr. Kim, Lieutenant Jae-min said, his military training helping him stay calm, I need to report this to Seoul immediately. This is far beyond a weapons test now. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Tell them we may have just changed everything we thought we knew about physics, and tell them to prepare for the possibility that we are no longer alone in the universe. As alarms continued to sound in space stations across the galaxy, the simple tungsten rod continued its impossible journey toward its target, rewriting the laws of physics with every kilometer it traveled. The emergency sirens in the alien observation station had been screaming for 20 minutes. Ambassador Veltar moved quickly between different instrument panels, his crystal body flashing red and yellow with panic. He had never seen readings like these in his 300 years of galactic service. Status report, he called to High Analyst Quixnara, whose purple skin had turned completely white with shock. The projectile has now reached 1200% of light speed. She reported, her voice barely a whisper. It should have torn itself apart from the stress. It should have created a black hole. It should have done anything except continue flying in a perfect straight line. Veltar checked his own instruments and felt something his species rarely experienced: true fear. According to quantum mechanics, this is impossible. According to relativity theory, this is impossible. According to every law of physics discovered by every species in the galaxy, this is impossible. Yet it is happening, Kixnara said. She pointed to her screens, which showed data that made no sense. The projectile is not just moving through normal space. It appears to be creating its own pocket of altered space-time. Look at these readings. Veltar studied the measurements, and his crystal form went completely dark for a moment. It is surfing on reality itself. The tungsten rod is somehow riding the quantum foam that makes up the foundation of the universe. On Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo Kim stood in his laboratory, surrounded by dozens of scientists who were all talking at once. Every computer screen showed impossible data. Every measurement device recorded things that could not exist. Quiet, everyone! Hyunwoo called out. The room fell silent. Dr. So-young, give me your best analysis of what happened. Dr. So-young. Kim looked pale and tired. She had been running calculations for hours, trying to understand what their railgun had actually done. Dr. Kim, I have checked and rechecked the numbers. Our projectile achieved something that should be impossible. Explain it in simple terms, Hyunwoo said. When we fired the tungsten rod, several things happened at exactly the same time, So Young began. First, our electromagnetic field was perfectly tuned to the natural frequency of the tungsten crystal structure. Second, this field interacted with Earth's magnetic field in an unexpected way. Third, the timing coincided with a specific alignment of quantum particles in the local space. Dr. Yoon-ji Park looked up from her computer. It was like hitting a musical note that resonated with the entire universe, she said. The projectile synchronized with the fundamental frequency of space-time itself. Minho Choi had been studying the engineering data. The most incredible part is that it was completely accidental, he said. We could not reproduce this if we tried. The exact conditions that created this effect happen maybe once in a million years. What conditions? Hyun-woo asked. The Earth's magnetic field was at a specific strength, Minho explained. The solar wind from the sun was at exactly the right intensity. The quantum fluctuations in local space were aligned in a perfect pattern, and our railgun fired at the precise moment when all these factors came together. Across the galaxy, emergency meetings were being called. On Nexus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Council, representatives from thousands of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. The building was a marvel of engineering, made from crystallized space that could hold beings from many different environments. High Counselor Zethvar, an ancient being whose species had mastered physics 50,000 years ago, called the emergency session to order. His voice carried the weight of millennia. Fellow beings, we face an unprecedented situation. A primitive species has somehow achieved faster-than-light kinetic projection. Murmurs filled the assembly hall. Species that had been studying physics for hundreds of thousands of years struggled to understand what the humans had accomplished. This is impossible, declared Representative Kicksnoth of the Machine Intelligences. Our quantum computers have calculated every possible interaction of matter and energy. Kinetic objects cannot exceed light speed without infinite energy input. Yet it has happened, replied Ambassador Mordak from the Void Touched, beings who existed partially outside normal space-time. Our sensors detect the projectile moving through dimensions we cannot access. It appears to be creating new laws of physics as it travels. High Counselor Zethvar raised his hand for silence. We have consulted the eternal hierarchs. Even they cannot explain this phenomenon. For the first time in recorded galactic history, we face something that exceeds our understanding of reality. Back on Earth, the Korean government had mobilized every scientist in the country. President Yoon called an emergency cabinet meeting in Seoul. The conference room was filled with military officials, scientists, and intelligence experts. Dr. Kim, the president said, I need you to explain to me what you have done. Is this a weapon? Is it a discovery? Is it dangerous? Hyun-woo stood before the most powerful people in Korea, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Mr. President, we built a railgun designed to fire projectiles at Mach 25. Instead, we accidentally created something that breaks the fundamental laws of physics. Accidentally? Asked Defense Minister Park. Yes, sir, Hyun-woo replied. We had no idea this would happen. Based on our calculations, the projectile should have reached exactly Mach 25 and struck the target satellite with kinetic force. Instead, it exceeded the speed of light and appears to be traveling through alternate dimensions. Intelligence Director Kim leaned forward. Dr. Kim, do you believe this will attract attention from other intelligent species? Hyun-woo looked around, the room at the serious faces watching him. Sir, if there are other intelligent beings in the universe, and if they have been watching us, then yes. We have just done something that should be impossible. They will want to understand how. In the alien observation station, that prediction was already coming true. Ships from dozens of different species were arriving in Earth's solar system. The peaceful observation mission had become the most important scientific gathering in galactic history. Veltar called Captain Nixandra from the approaching Meridian science vessel. We are detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout this sector. What exactly did the humans do? They fired a simple kinetic projectile, Veltar replied. But somehow that projectile achieved faster-than-light travel and appears to be rewriting physics as it moves. A kinetic projectile? Captain Nixandra sounded confused. That is impossible. Kinetic weapons are bound by the laws of inertia and relativity. We know, Kieksnara interrupted. We have been saying it is impossible for hours, but the readings do not lie. More ships continued to arrive. The Stellar Dominion sent their most advanced research vessels. The Ancient Collective, beings so old that other species considered them mythical, emerged from their hidden worlds to investigate. Even the mysterious entities known only as the First Ones sent unmanned probes from the galactic core. Dr. Hyun Woo received a call from the International Space Station. Dr. Kim, this is Commander Sarah Chen. We are observing multiple unidentified objects entering our solar system. They appear to be spacecraft of unknown design. Hyun Woo felt his heart skip a beat. How many objects, Commander? 17 and counting, she replied. They are maintaining position just outside the orbit of Pluto. They appear to be observing us. In his laboratory, Hyun Woo gathered his team around the main display screen. Everyone, I think we are about to make first contact with alien civilizations. Our little railgun experiment has apparently gotten their attention. Yoonji looked worried. Are they hostile? Unknown, Hyun Woo replied. But they have not approached Earth directly. They seem to be studying what we did, just like we are. Min-ho pointed to his engineering displays. Dr. Kim, I am still detecting the projectile. It has now reached 1800% of light speed. According to these readings, it exists in at least 7 different dimensions simultaneously. What does that mean? Asked So-young. I think, Min-ho said slowly, it means we have created something that transcends our normal understanding of reality. The projectile is not just moving through space. It is moving through the quantum foundation that space is built on. High above Earth, more alien ships continued to arrive. The solar system was becoming the site of the largest gathering of different species in galactic history, all because a group of human scientists had tried to build a simple magnetic weapon and accidentally broken the universe. The tungsten rod continued its impossible journey, leaving a wake of quantum disturbances that rippled through dimensions, unknown to galactic science. Every kilometer it traveled brought new revelations about the nature of reality itself. And in the depths of space, ancient beings that had been silent for millions of years began to stir, drawn by the impossible signature of a species that had somehow achieved what they themselves had never imagined possible. The Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime had never seen anything like this. Representatives from over 3,000 different species filled the massive chamber, their various forms creating a spectacular display of galactic diversity. Crystal beings sparkled next to energy creatures that floated in containment fields. Machine intelligences interfaced directly with biomechanical entities, while gaseous life forms swirled in specialized atmospheric pods. High Counselor Zethvar, whose species had ruled the galaxy for 50 millennia, called for order. His ancient voice carried the authority of countless ages. Fellow beings, we face the greatest crisis in galactic history. A species we classified as primitive has achieved something that challenges every law of physics we understand. The hall erupted in worried voices speaking in hundreds of different languages. Translation matrices worked overtime to convert the chaos into understandable communication. Impossible, declared Prime Calculator Vexnum of the Machine Collective. His mechanical form clicked and whirred as quantum processors inside his head worked at maximum capacity. We have modeled every possible interaction between matter and energy. Kinetic projectiles cannot exceed light speed without infinite power input. Yet it has happened, whispered Oracle Sylveneth of the Void Touched. Her form flickered between dimensions as she spoke. The projectile moves through spaces that do not exist in normal reality. It is creating new laws of physics with every moment of its existence. In the observation section reserved for the most ancient species, the eternal hierarchs held their own discussion. These beings had transcended physical form millions of years ago and existed as pure consciousness. When they spoke, their thoughts appeared directly in the minds of other beings. We have consulted the Akashic records, their collective voice announced. In all the history of the universe, no species has achieved transdimensional kinetic projection through accidental means. This breaks not just physics, but the natural order of technological development. Elder Coordinator Tim Rack of the First Builders raised his massive form from his resting position. His species had constructed the first faster-than-light drives and established the foundations of galactic civilization. We built our first quantum tunneling device after 50,000 years of theoretical research. These humans achieved dimensional transcendence with a magnetic accelerator they built in 5 years. On Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo Kim stood in a hastily constructed diplomatic facility just outside Seoul. The building had been completed in record time as governments around the world realized that humanity was about to make first contact with alien civilizations. Dr. Kim, said President Yoon, 17 different spacecraft are now positioned in our solar system. Intelligence agencies worldwide confirm they are of unknown design and origin. They appear to be waiting for something. Hyunwoo nodded, feeling the weight of representing all humanity on his shoulders. Mr. President, I believe they are trying to understand what we did. Our railgun experiment has apparently violated fundamental laws that they thought were absolute. Dr. Bo-ra Song, South Korea's leading linguist, joined the meeting via video call from her office at Seoul National University. Dr. Kim, if these beings attempt communication, we need to be prepared. I have been studying patterns in electromagnetic signals from their ships. Some appear to be mathematical in nature. What kind of mathematics? Asked Defense Minister Park. Quantum. Field equations, Dr. Bo-ra replied. They seem to be transmitting questions about dimensional physics. They want to know how our projectile achieved faster-than-light travel. Back on the observation station, Ambassador Veltar received updates from the growing fleet of alien ships. His crystal form flickered with confusion as report after report confirmed the impossible. Ambassador, came a transmission from the Meridian science vessel. Our quantum analysts have studied the projectile's trajectory. It appears to be traveling through 11 different dimensions simultaneously while maintaining perfect stability. High Analyst Kix Nara looked up from her instruments. The Stellar Dominion reports that their reality manipulation specialists cannot explain the phenomenon. The Ancient Collective has deployed their most advanced detection arrays and confirmed that the projectile is rewriting space-time as it travels. Another transmission arrived. This one from the mysterious Deep Void. Entities. The projectile has achieved true trans-dimensional existence. It is simultaneously occupying multiple quantum states while maintaining classical physics properties. This should cause immediate collapse into a singularity, yet it remains stable. Veltar felt something his species had not experienced in thousands of years. True awe mixed with terror. Kixnara, contact the Galactic Council. Tell them that every major physics specialist in the galaxy confirms the same impossible readings. On Earth, more alien ships continued to arrive. The International Space Station reported counting over 50 different vessels, each one representing a different species or civilization. None had approached Earth directly, but their presence was undeniable. Dr. Hyunwoo stood in his laboratory with his team, watching news broadcasts from around the world. Every major government had acknowledged the presence of alien spacecraft in the solar system. Panic had not set in yet, but the mood was tense. Dr. Kim, said Min-ho Choi, I have been analyzing the continuing telemetry from our projectile. It has now reached over 2,000% of light speed and shows no signs of slowing down. Where is it now? Asked Dr. Yoon-ji Park. Min-ho checked his calculations. If it were traveling in a straight line through normal space, it would have already passed several star systems. But according to these readings, it is taking a curved path through higher dimensions while remaining on course for the satellite. Dr. So-young Kim looked puzzled. How can it be traveling faster than light but still taking time to reach the target? Because, Min-ho explained, it is not just moving through space. It is moving through the quantum substrate that underlies reality. Distance means something different when you exist in multiple dimensions at once. In the Galactic Assembly, the debate had grown more intense. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves united in their confusion and concern. The humans must be stopped, declared War Commander Kestek of the Dominion Fleet. If they can accidentally create weapons that transcend physical law, they represent a threat to galactic stability. Stopped? Replied peace singer Air Luna of the Harmony Collective. They have achieved something we thought impossible. We should be studying them, not destroying them. Study them? War Commander Kestek's battlesuit clanked as he turned toward her. They fired one projectile and broke the universe. What happens when they fire 1,000? What happens when they learn to control this power? Elder Coordinator Timrak raised his hand for attention. Fellow beings, consider this. The humans achieved trans-dimensional projection not through advanced mathematics or millions of years of research, but through simple engineering and accidental timing. What does this say about our understanding of reality? The assembly fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species had followed similar technological development paths. They had all discovered mathematics, then physics, then quantum mechanics, then dimensional theory. The progression was considered natural and inevitable, but humans had skipped almost everything and jumped directly to the end result through pure accident. Perhaps, suggested Oracle Sylvaneth, our approach to physics has been wrong. We study the universe by breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces. The humans built something and turned it on to see what would happen. Prime calculator. Vexnum's processor's word as he considered this. Their approach is chaotic and unscientific. It should not work. Yet it did work, Oracle Sylvaneth replied. That simple railgun achieved something our most advanced civilizations cannot duplicate. High Counselor Zethvar called for order once again. The question before us is not whether we understand what the humans did. The question is what we do now. Do we make contact? Do we observe? Do we intervene? We should ask them how they did it, suggested Representative Nolbath of the Research Guilds. Perhaps they can teach us something new about reality. Teach us? War Commander Kestek sounded outraged. They are primitives who still fight with chemical explosives. Primitives who just broke the speed of light with a magnetic tube, Oracle Sylvaneth reminded him. Perhaps there is something to be said for their approach. On Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo received word that the alien ships were beginning to transmit signals toward the planet. The messages were complex mathematical equations that seemed to be asking questions about dimensional physics and quantum mechanics. They want to know how we did it, Dr. Bo-Ra Song reported. The mathematics are incredibly advanced, but the basic questions are simple. How did you achieve faster-than-light kinetic projection? How did you create dimensional stability? How did you accidentally transcend the laws of physics? Hyunwoo looked at his team and smiled sadly. Tell them the truth. We do not know how we did it. We were just trying to build a better railgun. As the message was prepared for transmission, the tungsten projectile continued its impossible journey through dimensions unknown to galactic science. 3 days had passed since the railgun fired its impossible projectile, and the tungsten rod was finally approaching its target. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim stood in the newly constructed diplomatic facility, watching screens that showed the approaching moment of impact. Around the world, every telescope and sensor array was pointed at the old weather satellite that had become the most important object in human history. Impact in 30 seconds, announced Dr. So-Young Kim from her monitoring station. The projectile is maintaining impossible velocity and dimensional stability. Dr. Bo-Ra Song, the linguist who had become humanity's unofficial ambassador, stood beside communication equipment that linked directly to the 73 alien ships now gathered in the solar system. Over the past 3 days, she had been attempting to communicate with beings whose intelligence was so advanced that their basic questions confused Earth's greatest scientists. Dr. Song called out President Yoon from the secure conference room. Are our alien observers ready to witness the impact? Bo-Ra checked her translation systems and communication links. Yes, Mr. President. Representatives from 47 different species are monitoring our channels. They seem as curious as we are about what will happen when the projectile reaches its target. In the space around Earth, the largest gathering of alien civilizations in galactic history watched in amazement and terror. Ships from species that had never encountered each other before floated side by side, united in their need to understand what humans had accidentally accomplished. Ambassador Veltar transmitted to his fellow observers. All sensors focused on the target zone. The projectile maintains trans-dimensional coherence despite traveling at impossible velocity. This contradicts every law of physics known to galactic science. High Analyst Kix Nara's purple skin had remained white with shock for 3 days. The humans have achieved something that our most advanced theories said was impossible. They have created a stable, faster-than-light kinetic object using only electromagnetic acceleration. 10 seconds to impact, Dr. So Young announced. Around the world, humanity held its breath. In the diplomatic facility, Dr. Hyun Woo watched the screens with a mixture of pride and terror. His simple railgun project had somehow become the most significant moment in human history. 5 seconds, So Young called out. 4, 3, 2, 1, impact. What happened next would be discussed by philosophers and scientists across the galaxy for millions of years to come. The tungsten projectile struck the old weather satellite with impossible gentleness. Instead of the devastating explosion everyone expected, the satellite simply transformed. The metal and electronic components converted into something that existed beyond normal matter, creating a perfect sphere of crystallized space-time that glowed with colors that had no names in any language. "What just happened?" whispered Dr. Yoon-ji Park, staring at the readings that made no sense. "The projectile did not destroy the satellite," Min-ho Choi reported, his voice filled with awe. "It converted it into something else entirely. The satellite now exists in 11 dimensions simultaneously while maintaining perfect stability. In the alien observation fleet, every sensor array registered readings that their computers could not process. The impact had created something that was simultaneously matter and energy, particle and wave, real and theoretical. This is impossible," transmitted Captain Nix Andra of the Meridian science vessel. "The satellite has undergone perfect conversion without any loss of information or energy. It has become a stable, trans-dimensional object." "Impossible," agreed Elder Coordinator Tim Rack. "Of the first builders, our most advanced matter conversion processes require enormous energy input and always result in some destruction. This conversion appears to have been achieved with zero energy loss." On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council had called an emergency session that had been running continuously for 3 days. High Counselor Zethvar stood before representatives of thousands of species, all struggling to understand what they had witnessed. "Fellow beings," he announced, "we face a crisis that goes beyond science or technology. The humans have achieved something for which we have no adequate description in any of our languages." The Great Assembly Hall erupted in worried conversations. Species that had developed language and science for hundreds of thousands of years found themselves speechless in the face of human achievement. "Our most advanced linguists have attempted to describe what we observed," reported Chief Scholar Nalthis of the Word Weavers, beings whose entire civilization was built around language and communication. "We have words for faster than light, travel. We have terms for dimensional manipulation. We have concepts for matter conversion. But we have no language to describe what the humans accomplished." "How can there be no language for it?" asked Representative Kolveth of the Logic Masters, whose species had spent millennia cataloging every possible concept and giving it a name. "Because," Chief Scholar Nalthis replied, "they achieved perfect trans-dimensional kinetic conversion through accidental electromagnetic resonance. There are no words for this because no one imagined it was possible." In the deepest parts of space, ancient beings that had been sleeping for millions of years began to stir. The ancients, who had witnessed the birth and death of galaxies, sent a message that appeared simultaneously in the minds of every sapient being in known space. "In all our eons of existence, we have never observed accidental transcendence of universal law. The species called humans has achieved something that we, in our infinite age and wisdom, never imagined possible." Back on Earth, Dr. Hyun-woo found himself in the strange position of trying to explain something he did not understand to beings far more intelligent than himself. The communication chamber had been filled with translation equipment that could convert thoughts and concepts between species that had evolved in completely different environments. "Honored beings," Bo-Ra transmitted to the alien fleet. "We understand your confusion because we share it. We did not intend to break the laws of physics. We were simply trying to build a weapon to protect our planet." The response came from multiple species simultaneously, their thoughts merging into a collective question that Bo-Ra's translation matrix could barely process. "How did you accidentally achieve what we could not accomplish intentionally after millions of years of research?" Hyunwoo stepped forward to the communication array. Because we did not know it was impossible, he said simply. We approached the problem without preconceptions about what could or could not be done. The silence that followed this statement lasted for several minutes. Finally, Oracle Sylvaneth of the Void Touched responded, "You succeeded because you did not know you should fail." "Perhaps," Hyunwoo replied. "We saw a problem and built a solution. We did not spend centuries studying why it might not work." Prime. Calculator Vexnum of the Machine Collective transmitted a series of complex equations. "Our analysis indicates that your success was due to what you call naive engineering. You approached quantum physics without the theoretical constraints that limit more advanced civilizations." Dr. Bo-Ra looked at the translation of his message and smiled. "I think he is saying that we succeeded because we were too ignorant to know we should fail." More messages flooded in from the alien observers. The crystal beings of the harmonic resonance wanted to know how humans could manipulate dimensional frequencies without understanding harmonic mathematics. The energy entities of the stellar core asked how humans achieved matter conversion without mastering quantum consciousness. The machine intelligences requested specifications for equipment that created results their computers said were impossible. "We cannot give you the answers you seek," Bo-Ra transmitted to all the alien ships at once. "We do not understand what we did any better than you do. We only know that we built something, and it worked beyond our wildest expectations." High Counselor Zethvar's personal message arrived shortly after. "Dr. Song, the Galactic Council extends an invitation for humanity to join our civilization. Any species capable of accidental transcendence of physical law deserves a place among the stars." Bo-Ra looked at Dr. Hyunwoo and the assembled Korean officials. "They want to welcome us into galactic civilization. They say any species that can accidentally break the universe deserves respect." President Yoon stepped forward. "Tell them we are honored by their invitation, but also tell them that we are still learning what it means to be human. Perhaps they can teach us what it means to be galactic citizens." As the messages were transmitted and humanity took its first official steps into galactic civilization, Dr. Hyunwoo returned to his laboratory. His team was already working on new projects, approaching each one with the same naive confidence that had accidentally revolutionized physics. "What are we building next?" asked Min-ho, his engineering mind already racing with new possibilities. Hyunwoo smiled and looked out the window at the stars, where alien ships waited to study whatever humans would create next. "Something even better," he said. "Something that works." Far above, in ships containing beings of unimaginable intelligence and wisdom, the greatest minds in the galaxy struggled to understand the most profound lesson humanity had taught them. Sometimes the most revolutionary breakthroughs come not from knowing everything, but from the courage to try something.